I would like to thank you very much for being so kind to attend this occasion this morning. If I have to share my little dream, I would like to say this to you, that it happened when I was invited by Dr. By the president of our country, Mr. Jacob Zuma, to accompany them to Brazil. We went there for a conference of 3 days. As a matter of fact, one of the days, the last day of that conference, it was a meeting between Russia, Brazil, South Africa, and one of the other countries, I can't remember. India.
In which year was it, Dr. Maponya? Which year was it?
It was on 2010.
2010.
Yes. I was inspired by a discussion that we went on with when we were talking of the problems of our countries. It so happened that a gentleman from Brazil moved me when he spoke about Brazil. He said Brazil had a very big problem some years back where they had unemployment that was just over 50%. And the majority of the Brazilians, very, very poor. And fortunately, they happened to get a man who understood the problems of people down the ground, a man who was a trade unionist, Dr. Lula. Yes. When he took power there, he looked at the situation. He found that people did not know what to do to address the problem of unemployment and poverty. And he decided that he's going to introduce a program of educating his people, of training his people. He introduced a system that trains every Brazilian from young and old to be able to use their own hands so that they can change the situation of Brazil. For the period that he was in office, I'm told that he was able to bring down the unemployment, that number of 50% to 5%. And during that period, when he brought the unemployment down, he also was able to empower the Brazilians who were down the ground to the level of middle class. I'm told that he was able to bring the 25 million Brazilians into middle class standard. When I was in Brazil, when you walk, when you go to the malls in Brazil, you would actually see very, very happy people. This is what moved me when I saw how Brazilians were happy and they were really on top of the world. Yet, they had a similar problem as South Africa. I remained behind with my daughter and another lady, Fiona.
Yeah.
It was three of us. I said, I'm not going to go home until I get to know how the Brazilians changed their situation. The story that I am hearing is the story that I would like to take home. I don't want to go back and reinvent the wheel. I want to copy what the Brazilians did in changing the situation of Brazil. Remember, Brazil, they're a very big nation. I'm told there are about 200 million people, and we are only 50 million people. And when I heard that they were able to bring down unemployment to 25% to 5%, and also empower their people to 25 million people to a middle class standard, I said, I want to take this magic, the magic of Brazilians
Yeah.
back to our country. And I really believe that if we can introduce it, it's going to make a very big difference in our country. I then asked to be shown how they had done it. And very fortunately, I had very, very important people who took me all over their training centers in Brazil. And we went and looked at clothing manufacturers. We went and looked at quite a number of training centers. I was very, very impressed of what I had seen. Finally, they took me to Sinai.
Yeah.
When they took me to Sinai, I was so shocked and surprised to be received as if I was the head of a state. They threw a red carpet, and I said, "But what is all this about?" And they said, "No, we will surprise you." Then they ushered me into a hall like this one, and when we settled down, introduced one another, we started talking, and they said, "We're going to surprise you." They threw down a curtain there and started showing our country, South Africa. They showed Kruger National Park, they showed Durban, they showed Cape Town, and they showed Johannesburg, and when they showed Johannesburg, they showed Soweto. And then the surprise was when they showed Maponya Mall. That was the biggest surprise. And I said to them, but where did you get all this? They said, no, when we heard that you are coming, we Googled you. We Googled and we got to know who was coming. I was very, very much surprised. But however, we started talking, and I said to them, I would like to be assisted to introduce the Brazil magic to South Africa. What can you do, gentlemen, to help me do that? Then they said to me, if you can only help us by getting a letter from your country, we would be pleased to come to South Africa. We are actually operating in Africa. We are operating in Angola, Maputo, and elsewhere. There's about 3 places they mentioned. They then said to me, look, if we can get that letter, we will come to South Africa. And indeed, I came back and report to President Zuma that I had this kind of an experience, and I told him how impressed I was, and I would like to see that we do something about it here in our country, because I'm very concerned of youngsters matriculating and graduating and getting no employment. And as a result of that, they get attracted into doing things that are not acceptable in the communities. Having said that, President Zuma immediately referred me to Maite to say, can you write a letter so that we can invite the Brazilians to come over? He wrote a letter. I sent it back to Brazil. I was amazed by the fastness of the Brazilians, how quick they responded. In 2 weeks, after having received the letter, they sent a delegation of 6 people to come and look at our country. When they came in here, the first place they wanted to go was to go to see Maponya Mall. And from Maponya Mall, they wanted to find out where did I want to have this initiative started. And I had identified Funda Center as the place that we could use to initiate this training institute. Took them into Funda Center. They walked around the Funda Center. They were very impressed by Funda Center, and they actually said this is a wonderful venue because it's well centralized and easy to reach, and they were impressed also by the fact that Funda Center was laying on a piece of land, 21 hectares piece of land. And they said, look, we have a a very big room to expand. We are very impressed. We would like to commit ourselves. They pledged, that time, they pledged $5 million to help initiating the scheme. But very unfortunately, because of time and change of government, it looks like we now lost the 5 million because they had the program of the games getting into Brazil also, the government changing, and as a result of that, I think they diverted the money elsewhere because we were not very fast in reacting. When the delegation came here, they wanted to see mining and agriculture, motor industry, clothing manufacturing clothing, and they wanted to see leather and furniture. We took them to all those areas. They were very, very, very impressed in what they had seen. They said South Africa is definitely very advanced as compared to the area they worked with. It will be very easy to start initiating something in South Africa because the foundation is very, very strong here. After that, they sent 2 more delegations. One delegation was to come and look at the Funda Center and make recommendations of how we could adjust Funda Center to suit their purpose. And the other delegation was to talk about how we are going to establish our relationship here. But most unfortunately, there was a little bit of lull because they wanted an MOU, and this MOU went back front and backwards until it really got stuck somewhere else. And as a result of that, time had changed, government had changed in Brazil, and the result was that there was a very, very big delay.
So now we are back on track, and the issue of the institute is seen really as your lifelong commitment. And I want to take you to one quote that you've made, and want to hear from you. What really did you? How did you feel when you were interviewed and you making the type of statements you've made during the 2005, where you said that I cannot retire? I think that is everybody keeps on referring to that. I cannot retire. I retire and do what? I believe that for as long as I'm alive and healthy, I must do whatever I can to benefit my community. I will work until they sing Hamba Kahle. I'll die with my boots on. This is a serious commitment, quoted on Mail and Guardian. Talk us through that, and what message you want all the people that are here to take back to their institutions and the community at large. Let them hear it from you repeating those things.
Well, I actually mean it when I say I'm not going to retire. And the only time when I retire is when you are going to be saying to me, Lala Gahle. That will be my biggest retirement. I'm very, very concerned. You know, if there is anything that is concerning me, is to see our young boys and girls loitering in the street, unemployed. And one other thing that is really disturbing me terribly is the poverty that I still see in our communities. 20 years in our new dispensation, we still have the majority of our people living below breadline. That, to me, is unacceptable because this country has resources enough to make every family put 3 meals at table. I cannot accept to witness what we're still witnessing now, that there are still children that cannot go to school because their families or their parents are not working, their parents are unemployed, and there are so many youngsters. If you go to the rural areas in particular, you'll be shocked at the number of youngsters that are just floating in the street, having nothing to do. And the result is that they get attracted into doing things that they had not intended doing. But because there are always needs in life, they get involved into funny things, and they land in jail. I think we, as South Africans, we're a great nation, and we've proved ourselves over and over that if we put our hands together, we can make things happen. We can change this country in becoming one of the best country in the world. We have proved this by demonstrating when we had the 2010 games. The world did not believe that South Africa can make it. But what did we do? We surprised everybody. We were right at the top in succeeding. And not only that, there are quite a number of things that were done jointly by the people of South Africa.